Let's take a tour of a WordPress site already installed so you can get a feel for the software and know what to expect from the different versions that you'll see throughout the course. The WordPress software is updated quite often, adding security fixes and new features, but it's also backward compatible. This means that whichever version you see me use in the lessons, your practice site is likely to be slightly newer and may contain some differences. In this lesson, I'll show you the newest release, version 5.0, which includes a different editing system for posts and pages. I'll also show you how, by installing a simple plugin, we can keep all our WordPress sites working with older themes and plugins even before they've been adapted for the new 5.0 editor. Let's just start out by taking a look at wordpress.org, and you can follow along if you like. Keep in mind that this is not wordpress.com, the hosted solution that doesn't give you unlimited options. wordpress.org is the version of WordPress that we are working with in this course, the open source version that is often called self-hosted WordPress. On the home page, there's a Get WordPress button at the top right, and on that page, there's a download button. You can see that the latest version is WordPress 5.0. There's also a number of options across the top. You can check out the showcase and themes and plugins. Those are the main things that we'll be using. For now, I have a local environment set up where I have a WordPress site set up right here under a tab. Now, it doesn't look like anything special. This is just a blank theme, the new theme called 2019, using WordPress 5.0. There's just not really any content or imagery in it yet. If I go to the administrator dashboard, it'll prompt me to log in. And when I do, I'll go to the WordPress welcome screen, or what you might call the dashboard home screen. Now, this is a brand new, fresh WordPress installation, just coming out with all the default settings. You can see here in the At a Glance widget on the dashboard, it tells me that I'm running WordPress 5.0, and it tells me that I'm using the 2019 theme. Let's take a look under Appearance and Themes. And there are 3 themes installed in the default installation here, and one of them is active. The one at the top left is the one that shows as active. First thing I'm going to do is experiment with the 2017 theme instead for this site. I think just by doing that and then going over to the site and hitting refresh, that gives us a nice big homepage image as well as a column on the right hand side. I do like the layout of this theme, and we'll be using a variety of themes in the course. Now, themes in WordPress are what determine the look and feel of the website itself. And plugins, if I roll over plugins and click installed plugins, I don't have any installed plugins at this time. Now, depending on your environment, your host may have installed some default plugins to get you started to begin with, but at this point, we don't have any. Now, while themes control the look and feel of a WordPress website, plugins add functionality. And so the first thing I want to do, because WordPress 5.0 introduces a new editing system called the block editor, the first thing I'm going to do is add a new plugin by clicking Add New. Then I'm going to look for the classic editor. WordPress is keeping it near the top, and they're going to keep this plugin supported for the next few years as everybody transitions over to the new block editor. In development, it was codenamed Gutenberg, and lots of people have installed it and played with it previous to 5.0 being released. But I'm just going to click Install Now next to the Classic Editor plugin. Once it's installed, I can choose to activate it, and when the Classic Editor is activated, you can choose between the original editor that's been with WordPress for a long time or the new block editor. The potential problem is that some themes and some plugins might not be compatible with the new block editor at this point. And so by installing the Classic Editor plugin, we can assure that any content that we bring in terms of themes or plugins will work. We can choose the default editor and whether we allow users to switch editors when they need to. So I'm going to click Yes, and then I'll do default editor as the classic editor and click Save Changes. Now, the Classic Editor plugin adds a couple of settings to the Settings Writing screen, and that's where I've made these adjustments. But the first thing I want to do, because 2017, the theme, comes with some sample content. If you don't make any changes to your site or add any content initially, you can allow the theme to add some sample content for you. So I'm going to do that right now to make sure it's in there. I'm going to, under Appearance, click Customize. This opens what we call the Customizer in WordPress. It shows a representation of what the site looks like on the right, as well as some controls on the left side. Now, under Theme Options, if I haven't done anything to change the content of the site yet, 2017 Theme will add certain pages and populate them here in the home page. This theme has a home page that shows some different sections with static background images behind, like this. Now, the theme has added an About page and a Contact page, among several others. Now, if I just click Publish, now I've saved those pages in my WordPress installation. Now, if I go to Pages, All Pages, you can see that I have a number of pages here. One called Blog, About, a homepage section, Contact, and a page called Home. The privacy policy and the sample page are two default pages that are included with WordPress. Now you can see, now that I have two kinds of editors installed, I have a reference here in black next to the title of each page, whether it's the classic editor or whether it's using the block editor. Let's take a look at the difference. Let's just take a look at the About page. By clicking the title of the page or either the classic or the block editor, I can open up that page in a WordPress editing window. Now here's what the classic editor looks like. It is called the Tiny MCE editor. That's a piece of software that sits inside of WordPress and gives us these controls here that are like editing a word processing document or an email. Everything from different paragraph and heading styles to bold and italic, alignment, and adding media are provided with all these controls. Then the content goes here inside the content window, and then you click Update to update the post. This is how WordPress has worked for many years, and now there's a new block editor that makes it much easier to create custom and beautiful layouts within each page or post's content area. I'll just show you an example how I might place an image next to the text here. Let's say let's say we want to put an image to the left and have this text to the right of this main body text column. I could click Add Media, and if you click the Media Library, there are 3 images that were pulled in as a part of the 2017 sample content. I could just choose one of the images, and then on the right, I could say the alignment should be left, and let's choose a size, maybe large, and insert that into the page. Now, since this is a pretty large image and the column width is limited, the text has dropped down here to the bottom. What if I wanted to, let's center that image? It looks just about the same because this is the width of the column. Maybe if I click the Edit button on there, let's go to the smaller medium size and click Update. Now you can see the difference. This image is centered on the page and the text is below. If I want the text to wrap around the image, I could just align this image to the left, then the text will go along the right, and if it were longer, it would go down and wrap around the bottom there. I'm just copying and pasting a little bit more of the same text, and you can see how that might look. If I click Update, now I can right-click on this link here, which is for this page, and open it in a new tab. And let's take a look at what this post or this page looks like. You can see there's the column that I'm working with, and everything else is controlled in other places. This big image is what's called a featured image. As we imported that sample content from the 2017 theme, it used this picture for the featured image. And that's the way 2017 displays its pages. A large image and then the content of the page. Let's go back and take a look at what it might mean for us to use the block editor instead of the classic editor. From here, I'll go back to all pages, and this time when I open the About page, I'm going to click the block editor instead of the classic editor. It shows you a few tips that you can read when you first start out, and since we do have the classic editor plugin enabled, we've got a little link down here that says switch to classic editor. But let's just take a look at the block editor here. You can see that the content area is on the left, and this block is called a classic block. Even without the classic editor plugin installed, the block editor includes a block called a classic block. Now, if we go over to more options over here, we can say convert to blocks. Now, what WordPress does is converts what was already in the classic editor into blocks. Now, blocks are just building blocks like Legos that you can use to group some content into different places. It just gives a more modular approach and makes it easy to make unique layouts on each page. Now, when I want to add more content below, I can just click the plus button up here, and there's a number of different types of blocks, quite a few, most used, and there's common blocks, formatting blocks, all kinds of different layout elements, widgets and things. But all you do, you can even search for a block. Yeah, maybe I just want to do some paragraph text. If I just paste some text in there, that you can see that this now is a unique block of content called paragraph below the other paragraph content block. Now, we placed an image inside of the paragraph content block just like we were able to do before, but now we have the ability to add even more different kinds of blocks. Like suppose we wanted an image gallery. Go to the media library. Maybe I'll put all three of these images in a gallery. I could add a caption to each one, and I could just say insert gallery, and now that is a gallery block. Let's just click update, and then we can click view page in a new tab up here, and you can see that the content in the content column shows exactly what we had there. The big difference with the block editor versus the way that the classic editor looks is that when you're editing a page in the block editor, the content generally looks exactly like it will look on the front end of the website or the actual website itself. That's a big difference from the classic editor, where often we had to add some code or what's called a shortcode to take advantage of certain layout features of the theme, or even to make certain plugins work. Now, when I go back to all pages, you can see that this page, About, is being controlled by the block editor, and then the rest show the classic editor. When you have the classic editor plugin installed and you have WordPress 5.0 or later, you'll be able to switch between the two editors. Now, why would we want to do this? It's because some themes and plugins have yet to be updated to work with the block editor. Therefore, all you need to do is install the classic editor plugin, and those themes and plugins that haven't caught up yet will still work. What I'd suggest is when you set up a new WordPress website and use 5.0, you don't have to set up the classic editor plugin necessarily because you're working from scratch. But if you bring in a plugin or a theme that requires the classic editor, you should just install the classic editor plugin at that point. If you do update an existing WordPress website, however, that is updating to the new WordPress 5.0 version, I would suggest installing the classic editor plugin first so that you don't have any issues once you upgrade to WordPress 5.0. In this lesson, we toured a version of WordPress that uses the new block editor, and you watched as I installed and activated the classic editor plugin. I also activated the 2017 theme and imported the sample content pages and images by opening the Customizer and the Theme Options section and clicking Publish. In the next video, we'll get some of the tools you'll need outside of WordPress itself to create unique websites of your own and for clients too.